It's Christmas time.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So can you turn me down? I'm like one, just a little tiny little bit. Good. Perfect.
Got it.
Everybody else is good.
Yeah.
Cool.
We have convened for Father Son episode 2.
Yeah. Here we go.
First one was so good.
Yeah.
I learned so much.
Yeah, we definitely learned a lot. A whole lot of stuff.
Did you get any feedback? What was your feedback from that?
People loved it. People loved it. It was just hearing the two of them speak about just the world from their perspective is what blew, like the dating conversation was what blew people's. But no, I mean that's the feedback I got. Like people were like, "Holy shit!" Like that would be terrible. Like right now, like just to be in college.
I would do it.
Like I don't know how you guys do it.
It's tough. We don't.
Has the pros and cons.
What are the pros? What are the pros?
Yeah, what are the pros?
You're on
I
We
mean,
Twitter
really
now.
didn't get into the pros, and we talked about the cons a lot.
I mean, in terms of the convenience of like Snapchat
Yeah.
and social media is nice because you can talk to so many different people. But the cons of it is, well, everybody knows what you're doing
Yeah.
pretty much all
Everyone's
times.
gonna find out.
Yeah,
Everybody's gonna find out.
Yeah.
but how does everybody find out if you're
Social
using
media.
Snapchat or
Social media,
Yeah.
people just
rumors. I mean, stuff
People you
goes-
know someone.
I don't get it.
Listen,
I'm lost.
I
I'm lost.
would have no idea how to navigate that world.
It's tough.
So let's open up with that, because that was one of the questions a lot of people asked about the prior show, especially I'm guessing folks from my generation.
Yeah,
Roughly, like, I think one of you said something about you dating someone or you talking to somebody online and then being put on blast for some reason. And I really didn't understand what that actually meant. What is that? What does that actually mean, being put on blast?
yeah, it's a good question.
Just like everyone finds out what's going on. Like someone puts you on blast. Like
It just means you kind of been outed.
yeah,
Everybody
been
knows
outed.
now.
Okay.
everyone knows. Yeah,
So if you do something suspicious,
everyone will find out.
Like if you're talking to one girl and Snapchatting another girl, and that girl finds out, everybody finds out. Now you've
Got
been
it.
put on blast.
so if you're talking to one girl, you can't Snapchat another girl.
Well, you can, but if
It's a sticky situation.
Yeah.
It's inappropriate.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
Is there a certain length of time you have to be talking to a female for it to be like, if you just like have a conversation and start like, hey, let's chat a little bit, and then you start Snapchatting someone else the next day or a couple days after, what are the rules?
I feel like it's girl to girl. Some girls are like, oh yeah, you can have as many girlfriends, but then some girls are like, if you're talking to me,
Yeah.
you can't like be entertaining anybody else.
It's gray.
Yeah.
So,
Very good.
well, so is it like when you start to talk, let's just say you meet someone at a party, right? And you're talking to them, and you seem to dig her, she seems to dig you, and you kind of feel this way over a couple of days, and then you don't really talk about whether you're going out or not, or whether it's exclusive or it's not.
Yeah.
There's just an assumption made.
Yeah, I would say the assumptions. Yeah,
When
you
does
just
the
kinda know.
when does the assumption, like what triggers the assumption?
Yeah, good question. Well, this could get good.
Yeah.
I mean, from my experience, I would say just talking to them every day, inviting them like down to the frat house. Like one big thing for us is like when guys start to get close with girls is they start bringing them down during the weekdays and bringing them down to our hangouts,
yeah.
and they kind of become exclusive. You can tell.
Yeah.
There's no other
like-
girls that are coming around. It's that girl, and that's kind of
Yeah.
how they know, and that's how
Interesting.
they can kind of recognize when it's getting serious.
That's like the same thing.
So
I
if
say
you-
the same thing, but I'm not in a frat. But like when we go out, like if my friend's hanging out with some girl,
Okay.
it's like the same idea.
So if you're a female and you get called down to the frat house on a Wednesday, that's a good thing.
Yeah, you can look at it that way. Yeah, it sounds worse, but yeah.
Oh man, it's a Wednesday and you asked me
Yeah.
down there. We must
Like
be
if we're all
exclusive.
watching Thursday night football, you know, it's all the guys in the chapter room, but then the girlfriends come, and then
College is
as
so
people start
fucking
talking,
different,
more girls
man.
come.
Like we didn't. No one invited girls around like during the week, and we were in college. If we were watching
God.
football
Right.
with the
Yeah.
guys, like no, you didn't
You
do
live
that.
in my frat house, you would.
Why?
Because everybody in that frat,
You guys are a bunch of needy dudes.
I think there are 5 or 6 single dudes right now in the frat out of 25 of us.
What?
Yeah, and I'm one of the 5. And so like every time we have a
So are you a lucky In the lucky position? Okay. I just was curious.
As happy as they are at times, I watch them go through all the fights and all the bickering and stuff. I'm like,
I see
thank God I'm not involved.
Too, my friend. Yeah.
What's the thing people bicker about the most at your age?
It's just stupid shit.
Like dumb stuff. But like one of the biggest things is like, you're spending too much time with your friends. Oh, we want. It's like there's always the battle of how much time are you going to spend with me versus them.
Well, nothing's changed. That's pretty consistent from us Gen X's.
That's true. That is true. But I feel like in today's world, your generation has such an immediate need. It's like you have to. Like, I need to know right now. I need to spend time with you right now. And it's like there's like the perception of time is so different compared to our generation. Like, things move slower with us. It's like if you hung out with a girl like once a week, like that was enough. Or, if you that was enough. Now it's like I feel like it's almost every day.
It's different, yeah.
Yeah, it's really different.
Why?
I don't know. I wish I could tell you. I try to get into their minds, but it's like I said, we're watching football, and it's instead of it all being the guys, it's all the dudes with their girlfriends. All the girlfriends are there, and we don't really have. You lose out on a lot of guy time now with all these girls coming around.
God, really?
Yeah.
I would have thought maybe even the opposite.
And it's because the guys want the girls there, or the girls want to be there.
Depends on the
dude.
I don't know.
Maybe a combination of both.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Man, I'm learning so much.
So, like, what is dating like? Like, if you had to say, because there's patterns, right? We did patterns, in the before the internet. We went to the movies. And before we were carrying a phone around, we had a distraction of some kind. We didn't have any of that. You had to kind of sit and talk to each other.
Yeah.
Whether it was over pizza, beers,
I think there's still a lot of the social aspect of hanging out, but now a lot of it is social media, Snapchatting, texting all day. Like when I was constantly, when I was in a relationship with Mel, it was like you have to be texting all day.
Yeah, I was just
going to say that. And if you don't respond for 4 hours, they're like, "What the hell are you doing? Where are you?" And it's like it causes a problem.
Yeah. So have you ever asked?
I'm living my life.
Have you ever asked whoever you were involved with just to say, look, let's just talk on the phone. Can we, instead of like all this texting is driving me insane, can I just please can we limit this texting bullshit and just.
Yeah.
But then that still, and sometimes doesn't suffice because you can have a phone call once at night, but they're like, what are you doing all day? They want to text, they want to Snapchat, and
it's almost like they need to keep tabs on you.
There's no trust, really.
That's exactly what it is. You're 100% right. That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, you guys just don't trust each other. Like, that's exactly what it is. Like, I think if you need to be in communication that much with someone, that means you want to know where they are or what they're doing because you don't trust. Possession. Yeah, it's like because you don't trust what they're doing. Yep. That's crazy.
At least, like, it's my school just because it's big. Like, my friend's got a girlfriend, but, like, it's just so big, like, you don't know what he's doing all the time. If he doesn't text you back, like, it's just there's so many guys out there, like, so many girls out there. I think the options are just, like, endless. Like, there's just so much trust issues that go on, like, from day to day.
That's sad.
Can you imagine having to text somebody all day or they'd lose their shit?
I mean, I did it for 4 years and it was not fun.
Okay, so my second wife, when things started to go kind of sour toward the end, and without casting stones, I don't want to do that. Smartphones that were right at their infancy, 2007, 8, and 9, and she was convinced that I was places that I shouldn't have been. Which if it was happening, I would tell you. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
But she wanted me to be tethered. She's like, hey, there's an app you can put on your phone that I can check your location. Now it's real commonplace now, but it wasn't back then. And I remember I pushed so hard on that, not because my integrity was being questioned. It was just, who wants to live that way?
Right, exactly.
I just refused, as at that time, a 37-year-old man. They're not going to tether me.
Yeah.
If you don't really trust me at all, then this can't work, right? But now I fast forward all these years, and it's like not me, but the rest of my family, my wife and her friends and her children. Everybody just knows where everybody is because on Apple, like, Natalie just flew home from Israel. She's out at the airport in New York City. Everybody kind of knows. No, not me, because I don't buy into this bullshit. I don't want to tether because I just feel some way. It's just. I don't know. I don't care what the implications are, how it looks.
Yeah.
I don't care. No one is going to tether me. No one needs or deserves to know where my whereabouts are every moment of every day.
No.
I don't believe in that.
No, not
like,
at
that's
all.
a thing now.
Yeah, I mean, I can't.
Am I right or am I wrong? Is that a thing?
No, yeah,
you're right.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, do you have to, like, if you're dating someone, do they, like, hey, text me when you get there, or let me know when you get there?
I mean, you go out to a party. Tell me when you get there. Tell me when you're leaving. You
So
know,
is it an
text me throughout
accountability?
the
Is it a
night.
fear and accountability thing, or is
I think there's I mean, to an
Insecurity.
extent, from the guy perspective,
There's a lot of trust.
It is a little bit of we have to give them some respect and be like, hey, I'm going here, just so that you don't
that'd
just
be nice.
do whatever and
some honesty?
I
maybe?
get, but at the same time, constantly being harped on it is like, where are you going? What are you doing? It's like, oh my god, like I'm just going through like my daily life.
I'm taking a shit. Like, what do you want me to do? I mean,
I try to not be attached to my phone as much as I can. No, I mean,
I'm more trying to work on that too.
Trying to work on it from what I used to be.
Yeah, no, I
Is
agree.
it from the last podcast?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, from that, but like just overall, just not try to be on my phone as much as I possibly can be.
So what? Okay, so let's talk about that. So if you're both trying to do that to a degree, I commend you. Number one, but number two, what are you doing else besides being on the phone? When you're not on the phone like you would normally be, what else are you doing?
I don't know. I go to the gym and I'll try to like maybe not be on my phone as much, just like really just focus on what I'm trying to do.
I used to check my Snapchats and my texts while in between sets at gym.
Yeah,
now it's just I just put my phone to the side. I have my music and you just go. And, while I'm home, if I'm cooking, I get back from the gym, I just put my phone on the counter and I don't check it because I don't need to. I don't feel the need to.
Good.
That's good. That's a big step. Progress.
Yeah. That's a big step.
Yeah.
I mean, it's trying. I mean, as I get older, like social, like I don't talk to nearly as many people. I'm not like I don't feel as connected to my phone as I need to.
That's good. That actually is a good thing.
Yeah, and the thing with phones though is you'll learn as you get older. Like I'm tethered to mine because it's my business, right? So there is this level of you can't necessarily remove yourself from it. Yeah. Because I need to be accessible to clients, so, and people. So I'm constantly on. I'm not necessarily on social media just to fuck around on social media. Like I go on there for business. I do look around and have those moments where I'm just
He does fuck around on it, but he's just not doing it for business hours.
Yes, exactly. But my phone, like in a normal day, like my phone rings 15, 20 times. I might get 50 to 60 text messages a day, email. So it's a constant. Like I wish I could.
I don't have that, but I have quite a bit.
Yeah, but there are days where you wish you can get away from it because it's just distracting. And I told myself in 2023 I'm going to figure out a way to, give myself that space I need.
You're going to play guitar.
Well, that's definitely something I'm thinking about doing. Yes, correct. But even during the day, like turning off notifications so I can at least have that focused time of getting shit done and dealing with the things I have to deal with in front of me instead of being distracted all the time.
So I want to ask all three of you to a degree, and I don't need personal stories or anything, but we can talk in generalities, right? Personal stories are always more fun, of course, but I won't hold you to that. But when I did a small amount of online dating in the early 2010s between my second and third wife, I fell into a trap that I think became very prevalent, and I think it spans all demographics, age demographics. The web and the variety of people instantly available to you to interact with created this feeling like, wow, she looks amazing and she sounds amazing, but is there something better like right around the corner? Because look how easy it was to find her. You see? And I had to fight myself through the whole process of like, wow, you need to really look at each individual potentiality there and for what it was and quit looking about, what's around the corner. And I'm sure women do it as much as men. I'm just saying that the web has given us a smorgasbord of choices. And when it comes to dating, I found that on both sides of the fence, even in middle age, the same thing was going on. Well, this looks like a potential, and they seem great, yada yada yada. But is there a better possibility that tomorrow in my inbox will be a new one that could be even better? And it's a sickness to a degree. I call it a sickness because I think it applies to everything, not just dating. It applies to everything now because there's so much availability and choices out there that we have a hard time identifying what is great, I think, in this world. And I was going to ask both of you, do you either feel that or do you see that with your friends in regards to dating? There's just
I see it with my friends definitely.
Yeah, so do I.
I never got Tinder. I never do any online dating because I don't see the point in it. I think it's kind of fake in my idea because I would rather meet the person, get to know them, have that social interaction.
Yeah.
Because like the online dating, like you just said, I could be talking to this girl who then is also wondering what's right around the corner. Yeah. What dude? She could be talking to 19 different guys. And I would have no idea. And I know some of my best friends.
Have you been burned by that?
No, because I don't dabble in it. Because I try to just stay away from it. But I have seen some of my friends, they'll do it, and the girls done it to them, where it's like they'll talk to one girl, and then the next day they find a more attractive girl, and they're like, "Oh, let's swipe. Let's start talking to her."
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. I mean, it's almost a human reaction.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
well, it's human nature, right? You're constantly looking at if there's an option available, right? You're always going to look at the option. I mean, think about just anything. Like, okay, I like food, but there's other food that I may like tomorrow, or there's other options. It's human nature to look at additional options or things, outside of what's right in front of you. Social media, internet just gives us the ability to do it very quickly now. Like, we don't have, like, think about when we were younger and dating before social media. We all thought that way. Like, you'd start dating someone, you're like, but what if there's someone better? Like, what if I go to the bar on Friday night and meet someone that's a little bit hotter, a little bit more fun? Now it's just like you can just do it online. It's very...
It's immediate.
It's immediate. So you can find that it's that immediacy, and people just don't know how to back out of that.
Yeah.
It's a tricky situation, I feel like.
It's definitely a thing, but I also feel that it really robs the potential for joy.
It's not genuine. Just meeting someone online.
Yeah,
you just don't have that same connection you would even if you just meet them in person. So there's always that separation to an extent.
100%. Well, and that's the thing too. Like, for the two of you, like, growing up and coming out into the world, if you learn the skill of how to interact with people face to face and on a social basis, you'll be so much farther ahead than people in your generation, because that's a lost art. It really is. Like, people don't know how to communicate one-on-one anymore, face to face. Over the internet, you could be this super charismatic, suave dude, and you meet the person, and you're like, you're a shithead. Like, holy shit. And that's the thing. Like, you don't even know what you're getting, too, right? You're going on these sites, you have no idea what you're getting. Yeah. The girl could be a dude. You don't know.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
I'm just saying, like, those things, look at all those catfish, like, TV shows. People have used you know how many women have messaged me, and I've shown you that over the past 3 years, where they've gotten catfished by guys using my profile or taking my pictures, creating profiles, and messaging these women. One woman called our office to, like, get on the phone with me to tell me someone catfished her, and she sent this dude $1,000. I'm like, we didn't send it to me. Like, sorry that happened, but like, people were literally creating fake Instagram profiles and fake dating profiles with pictures of me and my kids.
Yeah.
And saying they were this. I've like reported so many to Instagram, to the point where sometimes Instagram's like, they're not violating any rules. I'm like, yeah, they are. Like, they stole my identity. Like, that's me. Like, I'm pretty sure that's
not a violation to them anymore.
I feel like that's a violation. But I mean, but that's the problem with the world. Like, people are looking. I think people are looking, using social media and using the internet to look for joy, but they're not assessing joy, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
They're just like, immediate. Like, they want that immediate. So if someone can, like, lure someone into meet, that's why all these catfishing things happen. Yeah. You lure somebody and you know how to talk to someone that's all like, wow, this person's in love with me already. That's not real. Like, people don't get it, and it's duping people. And I think your generation falls prey to that a lot because they think they're developing these relationships that are real, and they're not even close to being real.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's nuts.
Is there still one-on-one dating? Like, when you meet somebody, whether you met them online or not, but all right, we're going to go to a date on. Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. So, because this is interesting to me. If you go on your first date, give me an example of a place that you may go. What's hip and cool? What
Don't say Chipotle.
An ID.
I was actually going
to say
lunch. Go to Chipotle.
Panera, Chipotle.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so that's where you're going to go.
Yeah.
All right. So
Or more realistically, that's like if you're like kind of talking and your friends. If you're like actually dating and you're going on a date, like a restaurant, anything, a movie, it's still normal.
Let me ask you this: if you're going to a restaurant with somebody for the first time, let's say you were chatting online for a while, or you had mutual friends, so you kind of knew them, but you're meeting them actually for one-on-one time for the first time. Are you? And be honest now. Are you keeping that phone like right here? Is that phone going to be like an every 6 minute like just diversion? Oh, I got Are you going to include the phone in your time spent with this person, or will you put the phone away to really dive in and find out what that person is about?
I mean, I personally put my phone away. If you're going on a date, it's just
honestly,
they just wouldn't like to see it either. You checking your phone all the time. They're not going to want to be sitting there with you.
I'm so glad to hear that.
And if they're doing that, well, then I'm not going to. I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to leave. It's a level of mutual respect. Just if we're on a date, you're not on your phone. We're hanging out. It's us time. You know what I mean?
Yep. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
No,
I had.
No, there are still some normal things and proper things that still happen. Yeah, but a lot has changed.
I mean, I was hoping you would say that, because to me, that like if I meet with someone like in my office and they have their phone on the table, I don't take the I don't take the meeting seriously. I'm like, if you can't put your phone away, you schedule the meeting with me. Like, if you can't put your phone away for this hour that 100%. You wanted of my time,
and they're paying for it,
and I'm not, you're something more important. Now, if you have kids or you're like, people have come and said, hey, I'm just gonna have my phone on the table because I'm waiting on like my kid to call.
Certainly,
no problem.
Certainly,
but people that have it and they're constantly looking down at it, I'm like, I'm not even gonna take that meeting seriously. That drives me crazy.
So when I observe other people, I'm doing people watching. Let's say Natalie and I go to dinner, and we'll just look around other tables and see what's going on. We see a lot of younger couples. We assume, based upon the age and so forth, that are talking, and then they're doing this, and once in a while they will share something on here too. So there's some commonality, but it seems like there's a lot of like there's the phone is now part of the relationship, like another entity in the relationship, and it's really strange to me.
That's actually exactly how I would put it. Is it becomes part of the relationship, because like what I'll say is, like, once me and Mel, a year and a half in a relationship, every time we went out, I mean, you can only talk to somebody so much and know so much about a person before you run out of things to talk about. And so we're like, hey, let's go get food. And then you're on your phones, you're showing each other stuff on Instagram, you're talking, and that's normal and nobody's mad about it. But like, if you're trying to have real personal time, or it's your first time meeting, or you're on the first couple dates, then the phone shouldn't be a factor.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Do you both have friends at all that you have watched the phone destroy a relationship they were in? If you can point back to one thing that you can point out the phone as being the main culprit in the demise of their relationship.
I would put the culprit being the accessibility to be able to talk to other people, and the online dating aspect of that can put out the relationship, because they'll get caught Snapchatting other people or on Tinder, and that's what causes the downfall.
Wait. So the one party in the relationship cannot trust the other party not to be out looking for someone better than them.
One party has a wandering eye, apparently. That's what it seems like.
I wouldn't say it's not trusting. It's like just literally like if they're hanging out and she looks over at his phone and there's this Snapchat from another girl, and it's like, hey, what are you doing? It's like, okay, you're talking to another girl. It's time for me to get out of this, and that's how the demise happens.
See, to me, Rocco, it seems like this is like. And again, it's talking. I came from the 70s, 80s, and the 90s when there wasn't this kind of technology. So it seems like there is this thing, a dagger thrown into the relationship. The dagger being the phone primarily, but the social media apps and the connectivity. Really, this dagger is in there, and it's not going away, because it's just not going away. It would take two like-minded people to really be. To be cognitive of it and say, look, we are really going to shun these devices when we are actually together all the time, and let's grow this relationship.
Never happened.
That's so terrible.
Well, I look at the phone now as like what our dudes' night out were. Like when we were coming up, it's like when you were dating someone and you said, I'm going out with the boys. Like there was like, oh shit. Like, what could possibly happen? Like, they're going to be around a bunch of girls.
Maybe a little.
They're just talking dirt on you the whole time.
Yeah, like, they're going to be around a bunch of girls. Like, someone in that group's always single, so someone has to be the wingman, which was always me. And, now it's like that's kind of what having social media is. It's like you have the accessibility of dudes' night out on your phone. You just go on your phone and just meet a bunch of girls. And I feel like that's what it is, and that's where it causes problems.
Yeah.
Are a lot of your friends actually in committed relationships?
Yeah, I mean,
no for you and yes for you.
Oh yeah, half. Maybe like 20 of the guys are in relationships, pretty much.
One of my friends at school is in a relationship, but all of us aren't.
Smart.
And even the kids that I grew up with, like none of my kids that I really grew up with and were friends with are really in like an actual relationship.
Wow. Now, when you say committed, define committed.
I mean,
exclusive.
Oh yeah, I mean more than exclusive. I mean, majority of them have been dating for. Some of them have gone 5 years with their girlfriends. I mean, Jackson's been dating Megan for like 6 years since high school.
6 years.
Yeah, one of my friends is like that, but
most of them are at least over 8 months. I mean, they're pretty committed, I'd say. For a college relationship, compared to what I've seen for others, yeah, I'd say they're almost all pretty committed.
Wow.
Well, yeah, that's just so.
Yeah, I mean, you got 5 single dudes in the fraternity, and that's really it.
Your parties must suck.
Yeah, there's something. There's something. It leaves more options
like
for everybody else.
It leaves more options.
So, a small right turn, but in the same vein. So, when I was younger, and I'm sure same with Rocco, that when we were younger, our parents and our grandparents would tell us how the olden days were. You know, we would sit there and roll our eyes, go, "Oh God, here we go, put up with this." But as I got a little older, I would ponder, like, well, this is my reality. My parents, man, it was even slower for them. And their parents, it was even slow. And you would see it in movies, right? You'd see like the 50s, people dating with the fancy cars and the sock hop balls and all this stuff. And then, but as you get older, you contemplate and you realize, wow, everything just gets faster and faster and faster. My question to you is, do you two ever sit and think about the world you're in right now and maybe what it was like 10, 20, 30, 40 years before you were even here, what life was like and the speed of how things changed, or are you really oblivious to what's happened before you? It's not a harsh question. I'm not being critical. I'm just asking, have you ever pondered about what life was like before the web?
Yeah, I think about how people were able to live life with no phone. Honestly.
Very easily.
I think about it all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Really?
I can't even imagine what it was like, honestly.
I wish. I mean, a large part of me wishes that I could live in that time because
I wish everyone was living like that.
Yeah. I will say there's a large majority of kids my age who do wish that we could get away from the social media and get away from the phones and stop having to deal with it, because all it's become is more of a pain in the ass than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that was high school for me, right? I didn't get my first cell phone until college, and that was only for emergency purposes. You could only use it after 9 o'clock at night because that one it was free. Like you had to pay like $1 million a minute if you used it between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Okay. So it was only for emergency purposes.
Okay.
But it was like in high school, like when you left, you just told your parents when you're coming home.
Yeah.
There was no way for them to know you just had this level of trust. My parents had this level of trust for me, right? And it was great, but it also, like, I think like how easy it would, like, if we had the technology that you guys have now, life would have been so much easier in high school. Not that life was difficult, but it was different, right? Like you had to like coordinate with friends, like in school. Okay, I'm going to pick you guys up at 7, and then if someone wasn't there, you're like, where the fuck is he? Yeah. And then you have to go to someone's house and use their home phone to call and find out where this person is. Yeah. It was like a scavenger hunt, and there was like this level of coordination that even for parties and for things to happen. It was like you started telling people in school, like during the week, like, hey, we're having a party Friday night at so-and-so's house, and it spread like that. But that's also how rumors spread, right? Like, so you guys have social media. The problem with not having social media, like social media, it's verifiable, right? There's a verifiable record of what happened. We didn't have that. We had a recollection of what people remembered happening, which changed and diverted as it went through people. So, like,
playing telephone.
That's what it was. And it was truly, like, once it got through 10 people, like, that's not at all what fucking happened. This, it would just, the story would change. Like, at least that's the one benefit you have, is there's a verifiable record of what happened. Like, here we have memories, but even some of my memories, I'm like, did that happen or was it this? Like, it gets hazy. And so there is that part of me that's like, oh man, like if we would have had this stuff in college, and it would have been interesting to just look back now and see, like, that's one thing you guys will have when you're my age. You'll be able to look back on your life and have this recollection, this recorded recollection of your life, and the way and even with social media, the way you thought, the way your views changed. Because you have photos, right? We have photos to look back. I can look back at pictures from college, but I don't know what I believed at that time or what my perspective was. Well, you journaled, right? I didn't start journaling until my 30s. So, like, you have that, which is awesome. Like, I don't. Like, you guys will have that. Like, you be able to go back over your social media pages and just see how you developed as
It's a form of journaling. Like, I think social media is a form of journaling.
It really is.
Almost like forced journaling, to be honest with you, whether you acknowledge it or not. I mean, I tend to enjoy writing deeper so I can really dive into what I was thinking. But, and I'll do this without getting emotional here, but like how that has been so wonderful is like just the other day I found I was missing one of my journals, missing one. Like I got a little paranoid, like who took my damn journal? I found it. So I was categorizing, and it was a month that, him and I did something when he was like, I don't know, went somewhere. And I was reading like, we did this, and he was thinking this way, and I was thinking this way, and the van, we were stuck in a rainstorm, and the van battery died. And, we needed to be here at this time, but we went to the Exxon place, and the guy took care of us. I could feel that entire day wash over me. I mean, it was wonderful.
It was awesome.
It was so, like, and he was in the back, and he was drinking. I used to give him big gulps and things, and he was, like, this tall. But I wasn't supposed to do that, but I was trying to pacify him, because he's looking out the window. Dad, what we doing here, and this guy's working on the truck, and it was raining. But I'm saying that level of descriptiveness, I'm not saying everybody should do it. For me, it's wonderful because it does then, their memories are in there.
Yeah.
You just got to pull them out.
Yeah.
And sometimes it only takes a little thing.
Yep.
And I sent him this, he doesn't remember, so this is interesting. So he, in the second grade, drew a picture of himself.
Okay.
Third grade, it was really kind of well done. Like, he had big feet, and, it was like he had Under Armour logo on his stuff. And I kept it, and I rolled it up, and I said, do you remember this? And you don't even remember drawing, which I don't expect him to.
Right, yeah.
But I remember not only the drawing, but the day I got it. And I think that's a healthy, without belaboring any longer, I just think being descriptive and chronicalizing your life, it can be healthy.
Yeah.
For reflective purposes, and I recommend it for anybody.
That's like on Snapchat. They have Snapchat memories. Like
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. My memories, like I have so much like amazing things in there, like what me and my friends did. So like you can just pull one of those memories, and you can just automatically think about like what you were like thinking at the time, like what's going on.
Yeah, there's ones
like,
that come up with me with you and like the girls when you were younger. They're hilarious. Them
like
slapping you in the face.
Like I wouldn't trade those like for anything. So it's like
see,
just like what you said in terms of like I got my New Year's memory, so it gave me a list or a bunch of videos and pictures all from this past year. And like similar to journaling, just seeing those pictures of those like 10-second videos, I could go back to that exact night, remember everything from that night, and even see how from in March how different of a person I was to now.
Yeah,
and I also think it can be a good learning experience. Like, so I use Google Photos and Amazon Photos because I've got hundreds of thousands of photographs, and they index them.
Yeah,
and it's great because there was an EXILF file in each of those photographs, which has the date stamped internally in the file. So you can try to hide the date, but it's there.
Yeah, okay.
And these systems pull off of that date, so they're going to index them for you.
Oh, wow.
So Google Google Photos or Amazon Prime Photos will give you like once a week. Look at what happened on August 12th, all these different years.
Yeah,
that's like Snapchat.
And I'm always sending him something or sending his mother a picture. And Ross is like, please, Dad, quit sending me pictures. But I mean, like, they come up.
Every day I'll get a memory
and I relive
on Snapchat from like 5 years ago.
I know.
It's awesome. But see, I think that's the beauty of technology.
It is. Because even stuff like because I haven't had Snapchat that long, when I used to use it more, like just seeing you like 5, 6, 7 years ago, it's like holy shit. Like it was just like I remember like there's one that came up like with the first time you went to the gym with me.
Yeah,
you were like benching like 40,
like 15 pound
15 pounds, but you had this big haircut.
Yeah,
I
know exactly what video you're talking about. I was wearing this NAPE long sleeve.
Yeah,
I remember it.
Yeah. It's just like, see those things. It just brings back those memories. Like when you see it, you can put yourself back in that scene.
So let's have a comparison. So on the converse, everything that happened in my life up until maybe like 95-ish. I have journals from from 89 on, but before 89. I don't have much.
Yeah.
Like, and my parents didn't take photographs. I got maybe a handful of photographs of my brother and I when we were younger. So maybe that's why I became obsessive with doing it. But conversely, if you don't take pictures, if you don't do that stuff, it sucks.
Yeah.
I look at my parents. They've got very little of their life. And you're right about memory. It fades over time.
It does.
It isn't as accurate. It's in there, but you need that trigger to pull it out.
There's like the big ones you have, but then there's like the little day-to-day stuff. It's hard. Like I remember all the big stuff, like the funny stuff you used to do when you were a kid, or like the one time you like peed on my back. Like literally, you remember that? You
threw up in the car.
Literally threw up.
I got a couple of those.
Got right to fucking daycare, and threw up.
We were outside, and I threw up in the back seat before, as he was opening the door to get me
drive him into downtown the day. He's like, my stomach hurts. Like his stomach always hurt in the car. Like
I got car sick, horribly car sick.
Always. I'm like, dude, we're almost there. Just hold it. You were like maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Super little. Like, dude, we're almost there. Hold it. And we stopped, like, we're here, dude. Like, it was going to Point Park at the time. And I get out of the car to go open this door, and he's like, Pwah. I'm like, I was like trying to go into work. I had to like clean the car, clean him up.
The worst.
I don't even remember if I brought you in that day.
You brought me in. We went in the bathroom, and you were wiping me off with napkins.
I don't think you were supposed to, because he threw up. I'm like, he's good. He's good. Like, no, he's totally fine. Didn't throw up at all. No, I mean, but you used to do that. I mean, God, there's like so many of those things like that you think about, and you're like, you remember, but it's like there's also the little stuff that you just you don't remember, and it's like because we didn't have that, like social media wasn't that big when you were little. Like I look back at pictures of you when you were this little baby, and it's just like, oh man, like where did you go? And then you remember those times, but it's like there's so much time in between that you don't remember because you don't have like videos and photos of it every day, but you can remember, but it's not fully a vivid memory.
And I think that's the joy of technology today.
Yeah.
If I had to say that what's the major thing for the quality of life, besides improving medicine and things like that, for in day in, day out life, it's the fact that whether you're lazy and you don't want to write or you don't want to take pictures, invariably, there's so many photos circulating around right now being indexed on the web. You're going to have some kind of record to enable you to capture these memories and then relive them in later time, which I think, but beyond that, do you think about, like, yes, there wasn't a phone, but did you also think about, what it was like to date in prior generations, what it was like to go to a ball game, what sports was like? We just lost Franco Harris at the time of this, and I know both of you know of Franco Harris. You're from Pittsburgh, naturally, but I used to tell Austin for years, being a Steeler fan was amazing, and we didn't have all the 24/7 sports, and I didn't have all this stuff at my fingertips. Every bit of information we got about our teams came through the paper or the AM radio. 3 or 4 times a day there'd be like blips, and we had to search and seek it out. And I think some of the joy, I believe, in enjoying the things in my life that brought me happiness was the pursuit of it. I loved music and it became a part of my life, but we ingested it with records, right? And we had to go intently to listen to this particular record of this band. I needed to go seek it out and listen to it. I didn't dial it up on a YouTube screen or listen to it on XM. There was more. I guess there was more intent for the things we loved, and it made it easier to immerse ourselves in them. Does that make any sense? Like everything wasn't available at our fingers. Like. It's great. Don't get me wrong, but it was so.
I think there's pros
bloody
and cons to every aspect
different
of social media and the phones and technology.
Like right now, if something you dig, and you had a question about it, you are a couple keystrokes away of getting an answer that probably is right. We assume, right?
But the difference is, I think they can immerse themselves so much deeper now, right?
Sure,
Like we liked immersing ourselves, and it was the pursuit, right? But there was only so much out there. Now you can go on a rabbit hole, and you could spend hours about something, learning about something you love or a passion you have. So there is that.
Yes.
To me, that's a huge benefit. Like, there's there's the ability to find information quickly, but there's also so much information out there that you can spend days learning.
I go down rabbit holes daily about stuff at the gym, like looking about the lifts, different types, what this one will do for me versus this one, how eating this will, hours I could go into 1,000 different people saying 1,000 different things and kind of testing them all out and seeing how it goes for me.
Now you just ask Chat GPT and you'll have your answer.
Yeah. We need to talk about that.
That's amazing. It's the most amazing thing I've seen in a long time.
I'm going to use it, I think, to
everything.
source out different podcasting questions for group sessions.
Dude, it's the most amazing. It's insane
AI.
what it does. It is absolutely.
I mean, it takes hours of research and puts it into a 30-second
Okay,
response.
so let's talk about this aspect of your life. So both of you are getting ready to graduate college. Would you agree that when you were even in high school, Google was a thing all through school? Mm-hmm. So, studying and assignments that we had to do for school and college, right, looks vastly different than what they had. Now, I'm not saying one's cheating, one's not. I'm just saying the access to information is so different. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, if you got an assignment in school, let's say it was for a history-related subject, whatever you called it, social studies, history, whatever the hell it was, and you had to write an essay, you had to do research.
Yep.
I'm guessing you really never looked at that as a challenge, right? Because it really was basically it was going to be plagiarism in some form. You were going to research things, and things were going to spit out to you, and you were going to take long sentences and short paragraphs and merge them together and just get it done. Or pay someone to do it. Okay, I get it.
Yep.
You see the difference in what we had to do?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we deserve a medal. I'm just saying the access to that information, we just didn't have it. And you either were interested in getting it done correctly or you failed. I mean, it really wasn't any the bad student couldn't slip by then. Mm-hmm. They were going to be exposed as being a bad student because they just weren't going to do it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When it came to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Not mathematics or sciences, but I'm talking just like research and history and
writing,
English and things like that. Yeah. So it's fascinating to see the difference in the way a student conducts their business.
But I also think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's a lot of technology out there for teachers that also prevents a lot of that from happening.
Oh, yeah.
There's plagiarism screeners that literally you can't really plagiarize because there's software out there.
It's called Turn It In for us.
Yeah, that'll literally run that through this software, and it'll tell if it was plagiarized.
It'll be 38% match for plagiarism, and then it'll compare it to kids' submissions, the internet, and stuff like that. Yeah,
I'm kind of glad to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, that's been around for a while. Yeah,
okay,
that's a big thing that's been around.
Even tests, you can teachers can make locked browsers and stuff. Like the one test I had to do, I just had to take a video of Zoom of my screen, just to make sure that no one else was around or in the same room as me. And I had to submit that too with the test.
Yeah.
In my screen, so they make sure that you're not cheating and that you're just taking the test by yourself.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, and I'm going to admit it, I've cheated on tests before.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, especially when school was online.
Yeah.
I'm
so disappointed.
Yeah, right. I mean, if the problem is, and I'll see it, I've seen it, is if the teachers aren't educated on technology, they are oblivious to everything that all the kids are doing. I mean, you can go on Google and find just about any answer you need for every homework assignment and every question.
Yeah.
You have the teachers who know technology, they find ways to prevent it. But the teachers who don't, I mean, it could be your hardest class and you can breeze through it because Google will tell you everything.
Yeah, there were teachers who didn't care either. I remember in college, we had a class, it was Intro to Entrepreneurship. Literally, it was intersession, so we had a W&J, you had first semester, intersession, which was a class you took in January, then you had second semester. We all took it freshman year, intersession. The test was the same every year.
Right.
I literally think 30 of us wrote the same answers on the test, and we all got A's.
Wow.
That's how tests
because the teachers just didn't give a shit.
Now.
It was just you're in the class, you're here, you come to class, you're going to pass. You write the answers that are correct.
Yeah.
Literally, we all just had the year prior test and test answers and memorized them. And when we got the test, it's these are the same 4 questions. And we just regurgitated the answers we memorized.
Yeah.
So I also want to ask these youngsters a little bit about entertainment. Rocco and I remember the world when a CD was going to be released, and it was a date, and we waited, and it got released, and it was kind of a thing on the radio, or when you go get it. For me, it was an album. But his generation was a CD, probably.
Cassettes as well.
Cassettes. Yeah. But also there was movie releases. The new Spider-Man movie was going to show on this date. And the only releases that I actually remember my son being aware of when he grew up was the release of a video game.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yep.
That was it. I mean, everything else was just coming at him 24/7.
Yep.
And my question is music primarily music, but movies and the rest of it, do you view all that stuff as just being disposable now? Like, is music disposable to you too?
Does it hold disposable?
Yeah.
Does it hold any real? Let me ask. Okay,
just depends on the artist.
Would you pay for a recording, whether it's a single or whether it was a group of songs comprising a CD? Would you actually pay money for a piece of music when you know you can get it in all kinds of other forms, right? Would you pay money for it?
No, I mean, to an extent, I'd pay my monthly Spotify bill so that I can listen
Apple
to
Music,
it.
Yeah.
But like, I wouldn't. I mean, because I have Spotify, I would never go and buy.
But here, let me ask the question a different way. So, is there an artist that you absolutely love that if they weren't on Spotify or Apple Play, that you would actually pay for their music to listen to?
Oh yeah, I mean, as long as it wasn't outrageous.
Okay, so you would. So
if it was not accessible any other way, then yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, easily.
So maybe there isn't a want to listen to music. It's just being delivered to them in a different way.
Exactly, that's what it is.
Because the industry has demonetized the value of music.
Because that proves the point, right? Because if there was no other way to listen to an artist they really loved, they would pay for it. But it's just so easy now to just pay $10 a month and have access to every artist.
Everything,
That's the big difference.
Like, I have a playlist that I made like 6 years ago, and I started it with one song, and now it has like 800, and it's just my favorite songs over the years that I just add to that playlist.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful part of life to me.
I got that. Yeah.
And I think people that do not dive into music and find their thing is missing something. And there are people that just don't really dig music, you know. But and I get that. No one's required to. But But I always wonder about how it's consumed because, again, when life was moving slower, movies had a release date, and then there was like the pre-release, and then you'd hear like a little news clip about it when you were excited. The Star Wars 1 kind of smacked us all in the face like, wow, in 77, what is this thing? Yeah. And then it became a hit. So in 81, when Empire Strikes Back, 80, came out, we waited in lines going around buildings, and then when 83 when Return of the Jedi came, it was bigger than that. It was like a big thing.
When it came back when I was in college, it was Phantom Menace. We waited in line. When I was in college, we waited in line to go see it the first night.
Right.
And that was in the 90s. It was 98 or 99.
But in 95, and everything started to shift when the web was born. Everything, and again, you can't understand what you weren't exposed to. But we're trying to say, like, the world was slower, but events in our lives had a level of anticipation, which was wonderful. When I look at the tapestry of my life, you know, waiting for things sucks, right? Not really. As you look at it as an older person, the waiting was part of the joy.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you folks don't have a lot of waiting for anything in your life, really. I mean, is that fair to say? Is that inaccurate?
Waiting for the Pirates to get good.
Yeah. Pittsburgh sports.
But is there anything like that you
That's
say?
That's a good one, kid. That's a good one.
There is like, I'm waiting for this thing to come out or for this thing to happen. Is there ever anything that you wait in anticipation for?
Music, probably, but that's about it. Like, maybe artists will like, they'll say they're going to post an album and it'll be like a couple months away.
Okay.
But like, other than that, like, I'm not waiting on any movies or anything. You can just go on a site, stream illegal movies.
Yeah.
Do something like that.
What I actually talked to my friends about this a lot, because just even in comparison to when we were kids, like, we used to, I mean, I love Star Wars.
Yeah,
I love Marvel. And as a kid, I would wait, every year for the new Marvel movie, the new Star Wars movie. I always did, and I still do.
Yeah.
So to an extent, I think it's person to person, but it's also the internet and the accessibility that you have. You don't need to wait, and it's like, okay, I don't have to go in theaters to see this. It's going to come out on Disney Plus the same day it goes out in theaters. I'm just going to watch it in my bed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So the ability to have it at your fingertips, like we've been talking about the whole time, has kind of taken away that build up to it coming out. But like, me personally, I love music, and I'll wait for all my favorite artists to drop their new album. I mean, Gunna, they just leaked 200 unreleased songs, and I spent hours just going through listening to those.
So that gives me hope hearing things like that.
And there are still things like even like shows that come out. Like, there are, like, I don't watch it on TV, but there are shows like Jack Ryan just came out.
Yeah, and
that was a show. It was the first 2 seasons were awesome. It's been like a year and a half since a new season's come. Like there are things like that. Like I'll wait in anticipation for like certain shows that I love to watch.
Yeah.
But other than that, like movies, I don't really give a shit about. Music, I don't really like. I listen to my music, and there's no new artist. It's like I don't know who the fuck Gunna is, but cool. Like 200 new songs, awesome. Like there's a bunch of rappers that have "baby" in their name. I feel like
well, like Metro Boomin just released
who the fuck
one of the best. He's a producer. He makes the beats. That
so is it like is that the same thing as EDM?
No,
I don't know. He just produces the songs. Like he's just behind everything that goes on. Like in the song, he doesn't actually like sing or anything. He just makes the production on the song, and he brings artists in to sing.
Yeah.
Got it.
He'll bring Future, Travis Scott, different types of music for each person, and he'll bring them on. And his genius behind getting those guys on the right beats that he's made is what makes the songs amazing. And like right the day it came out, the morning it came out, I laid on my couch with my best friend, and we literally listened to the whole thing 3 times through.
See, that makes me feel so good because that's similar. Again, I'm just a music head. You know, I wasn't a movie buff, but I was a music head, and I was a music head in the 70s where everything was in anticipation. Everything. The reason I loved Kiss is because they were bizarre and visually crazy.
Yeah.
But had I had the availability at my fingertips to watch Kiss stuff 24/7, I would have burned out like 3 months. I would have been done. But it was the fact that, I got to wait 6 months to the next record. And then like you said, you weren't getting real facts. You were getting stories. You know, Gene Simmons had a bat tongue sewed onto it. I mean, all the crazy lies that became part of the tapestry.
That's what made music great.
Right. Yeah. But it was part of the whole story. And it was funny. Years later, I got a chance to work with the band, and it got in the internet era, and it kind of became stale because the part of the beauty of it was the camaraderie with like-minded fans, people that dig the same things, and the scarcity. The scarcity's not around today, for most things. You know?
Well, I think I agree and disagree. I think there is. I think brands and artists, they've done a good job of creating scarcity. Like I think there's a lot of things out there that
they have to survive.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But I think scarcity is a big play in the market now. I think
for new material, maybe they're making sure to protect.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, do you guys agree? Like, like when new clothes come out, or you're not clothes people, but like new music or new shoes. Like people are always talking about that stuff. Like there's only so many pairs being released, or only so many of these things being released. Like that's a scarcity thing.
Yeah.
I think there's still part of that there. It's part of the marketing.
Yeah, we did it in the guitar thing. We created limited editions. I knew one thing I realized about Americans right away was that they like to feel special. So if they can have something that their neighbor doesn't have, they'll brag about it. And I made a whole business over that. I get it. I just think that when we look at entertainment, things that we go to for enjoyment purposes. The way we ingested it was naturally different, but there was a huge amount of scarcity in our lives prior to the web.
Yeah, maybe it was scarcity, but also just we didn't have access. Like things were out there, we just didn't. Like some people had more access than others. Yeah, like wealthier people had more access to things than people that weren't as wealthy, right? They may have had better technology. They may have had computers before everybody else. Yeah. They may have had cable television when people didn't. Like things like that. I think things were out there, and scarcity was part of it, but I also think it was circumstance that created scarcity.
For the music conversation, I have never had a feeling of scarcity because of the fact that every artist that you could imagine is on Spotify, and I'm a very rap heavy person. That's pretty much all I listen to.
That's what I listen to.
My friends make fun of me. I don't know country. I don't know any country either. And all I listen to is rap. But I
tried. I failed. I was listening to Black Label Society bash my brain for 20 minutes on the way here, going, Austin, I wonder if you remember the song. It didn't stick, friends. It just I don't know what to say. I tried.
There's just the ability of there's on Spotify, there's Rap Caviar, there's Daily Mix, there's Drive playlist that Spotify creates based off of who I listen to, and it gives me 150 other songs of all these different artists who then have similar music to what I love, and that's how I
you like that though. I mean, that's okay.
I love that.
I love that I can explore.
Yeah. See,
because here's the thing: it takes the work out of certain things, right? Like I only have so much mental energy. I like to explore new music, but I don't have time to search for new music.
Yeah.
Like I like the types of music I like, but I don't like to have to try and figure out what other artists are like this.
Yeah.
Spotify just says, "Hey, we think you may like this." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I do."
Yeah.
That's the same thing with Amazon. I buy so much shit from Amazon because it's like, "Hey, we think you may need some new socks." I'm like, "I absolutely do." Great suggestion, because that's the beauty and the detriment of technology, right? It learns you. So it makes recommendations based upon things they think you'll like, and it's pretty freaking accurate. Like the music thing, like every time I go on Spotify and it's like the daily mixes or the recommendations, I'm like, yeah, like it'll pop up, hey, this is a new album that came out from this artist, you may like it. I'm like, yeah. Yep. 9 out of 10 times they're spot on.
Yeah.
Anytime music feels dry, like I'll have that running at the gym where I'm like, I don't know what to listen to. I just literally, you can search up, you could just put in best rap, and somebody's made a playlist, thousands of playlists. You can click their playlist and listen to their music, and I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, you can listen to what your friends are listening to.
Yep. Yeah,
and you can see like what albums they listen to. They'll have like a profile picture at the bottom on Apple Music, so you can see what they're listening to.
Yeah,
so you're probably gonna want to maybe listen to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing what they can do with music now. It's almost like crowdsourcing the search for good music. It's you're using the crowd out there of your friends and like-minded people to recommend new music to you, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Do you two think that rock is dead? Do you think rock and roll, hard rock, metal, do you think that genre, for the most part, is dead?
I think it's just like the people you hang around with, the audience. Like I don't know. Like people I hang around with, like we're listening to like hip hop, like rap stuff like that. But I don't think it's dead. I mean, I don't know, but it's just like I think where you are, where you like who you listen to, like who you surround yourself with, what they listen to. I just don't surround myself. Like I'm not surrounded by people that listen to that stuff, especially at school. Like it's just a generic. Like everyone kind of listens to like the same thing that's like hip and in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like at parties, it's the same playlists. And my friends, we all listen to similar music. But like rock, I listen to almost every day in the gym, because sometimes when the rap doesn't do it, I just throw on Stricken or throw on, Volbeat. And it's like you just need that. I don't think it's dying. I just think it's not as prominent as it used to be, probably. I mean, I don't know how it was back then.
I guess that was kind of what I was getting at.
Even like sports endorse like rap music. They'll always post, like ESPN's always posting like not like lyrics and stuff, but like in the background of like commercials, like rap songs.
Yeah.
And just like even just anywhere. So I think even like sports media just
I think that's a good point. I think the traditional media that used to use rock to promote has switched to hip hop and rap.
Yeah.
Like sports, like adrenaline type events, or
I mean, look at the halftime show. They brought on 50 Cent. They had Snoop
Dogg.
Exactly.
They had Scott was on a couple years ago.
They got all these hip hop rap artists.
Yeah, you're exactly
that's
right.
What they're going for now. I think that's just an overall change of taste in music.
Well, and here's what I think. If I'm looking at this from a zooming out perspective, rap artists and hip hop artists have done a really good job of promoting themselves on social media. Yeah. Rock bands have not. Mm-hmm. Rock bands have done dog shit in promoting themselves because they think we're traditional musicians, we shouldn't have to promote ourselves like that. And you played it wrong. Rap and hip hop, they've used social media to touch their fans intimately. That's why they've created such a fan base, where rock music is still rock music. To me, rock music is music because they're actually playing music, right? Rap and hip hop is different, but they've understood the market in their consumer, and they played to them. Where, like, I look at it like old lawyers compared to us, right? Old lawyers think, well, I'm a lawyer, people will just come to me because I'm a lawyer. It's like, no. I have to know who my clients are and go to them and convince them why they should come to me. Or some people, like, I would equate them to like the old school rock. Like, they just think, well, we're just rock and roll. People are just going to come find us because we're fucking rock and roll. It's like, no one gives a shit. Like, you got to touch them. You got to make them want you.
Yeah.
It's different now.
I also just really think it's largely a generational thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like my generation, all hip hop and rap, and the artists that we listen to are close in age, if not
they're
our
all
age
really,
or younger
really
than
young.
us.
They're all around.
You
our
don't
age.
have many guys coming up our age making rock music.
No.
Yeah.
Or any rappers that are like 50 or something, except like Snoop Dogg. I mean, like all those guys, but like they're just like legends. Like everyone knows who they are. But like
we have a Snoop on the stoop in our office. Did I tell you that?
We have a what?
It's like Elf on the Shelf, but it's Snoop on the stoop. So we hide it. We hide it every day.
That's awesome.
In the office.
Yeah, it's just it's kind of I get melancholy about it. For me, is because of that segment of music meant so much to me throughout my life, and I was aware of all the other genres, but I was really entrenched in that one style of music, and I have watched it erode for 20 plus years. I mean, when you think about the biggest rock touring acts, so rock/metal. They're all dinosaur bands. They're Aerosmith and Kiss and maybe two others, and that's it. When they're gone, that genre of music is really, for the next generation, it's going to probably kind of go away.
Yeah, but look at even some of the rock bands that are still out there. They just do a terrible job of utilizing social media. I think that is the biggest problem, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm on social media, and I don't see any rock bands ever come across my feed.
I don't either.
I see a lot of hip hop, a lot of rap, a lot of like pop music, but
they're almost like for a bad pun. They're almost tone deaf to the
100%
to the advertising market.
Absolutely, 100% they are.
Yeah.
Well, look at Metallica. Metallica's still around. Like I went to their concert a couple years ago. I don't see them on social media anywhere. They're one of the greatest rock bands of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah,
they're still playing. They're still touring. Like, how are you not utilizing social media?
I think I think metal bands, the ones that made it, are in a weird position because the ones that made it that stuck around made their money before downloading.
Sure,
tons of money.
Yeah,
and they're kind of like in not survival mode, maybe a step above survival mode. They're just trotting along and just living off of their past.
Yeah,
but a new band that come in. Like a new metal band. Do you know who Greta Van Fleet is? The name ring a bell?
I know the name, yeah.
You know, but you never even heard of them before.
Wow. I know who they are.
Man, what did I do wrong?
It's a different world, man.
But I'm saying there was a younger band that sounded very vintage.
Yeah.
And they made money because they sounded like Led Zeppelin, right? But I just don't know where the audience for that music is because hip hop and quote unquote pop music dominate the airways. Pop music always dominated from the hard rock was here and metal was here, but pop dominated. I think rap now is bigger than pop music.
But here's the thing.
Don't you think?
I will debate that because they've made themselves bigger. Greta Van Fleet got popular and made money because they used social media. They were all over TikTok.
Yeah, they were.
Like that's how people
found out about sounded like Led Zeppelin.
But it wasn't even that. They were younger people were listening to. They didn't have any fucking clue who Led Zeppelin was.
Yeah.
They just used social media and people were using their sound in their videos, and that's how they got popular.
Yeah.
Again, this is the problem. Like rap and hip hop have created their market, and they've become the biggest thing in that market. Rock bands just missed that mark.
Yeah,
they didn't create the
market. I never looked at it that way. Yeah, for sure. And it's also there's complexity there too because they are musicians.
Yeah.
And it's like you can argue whether a rapper is a musician or not. I don't want to get in that debate with you, but I'm just saying there's a level of complexity creating the actual sounds.
That's what I mean. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but probably the technology difference in terms of like, for example, Metro Boomin, like his album, these beats and these sounds and this music that he creates, and he has these guys come on with these lyrics and the way that they flow on is entirely different than these rock bands standing up there playing the drums and hitting the guitar. Entirely different vibe, and that's also, I mean, to me, the advertising is a big thing, but I truly believe it just is generational. I mean, my little brother,
of course,
every one of my friends, I can't tell you many dudes who listen to rock at all, and not because of their choice. They just were never put onto it. They never took the time. They were never exposed to it because as the rock is getting older and the bands are starting to die off, nobody's coming in with new stuff, so it's just kind of fading out.
But think about
what Rocco said.
Because if rock bands didn't, hip hop was all over social media.
They're not bringing it to the people.
They're not bringing it to the people.
So what you're saying is they may actually kill off their own genre.
They're killing off their own genre. That's exactly what they're doing. 100%.
Like if you were to advertise, I mean, Thunderstruck and all those songs are the most common, but if you were to use them more, use them in these commercials, bring them like what they're using, Snoop Dogg and Eminem and 50, bring these songs back, have them perform at a halftime, bring it back, then I could see it, because I love rock when I listen. Like when I'm at the gym, I love it.
Yeah.
It's interesting to it seems like in a lot of NFL stadiums, the first song that's played before it's kicked off is Ozzy Osbourne's "Crazy Train." You hear him screaming. It's like that's the NFL pays. The Oz man that money to put those songs on in the stadium.
Yeah.
So it's still there. It's still there. It's just
A lot of raps there too, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, I would think way more. I would think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But my only point was that rock is still there. I just don't know where the future is, and I again, coming from a background where it's, I was heavily immersed in that, and seeing where it's at now, I feel like a dinosaur because, I mean, I'm listening to edgy, hard driving rock music that's 50 fucking years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I listened to Black Sabbath today.
Yeah.
Here, I mean, it's the heaviest thing in the universe.
Yeah.
And it's 50 years old.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wonder if it's going to be around. Not that it doesn't really matter if it is or it isn't. But back to you two thinking about the before times. What else do you ponder about when you look at, like, when you think about your father's generation, or if you ever say, well, what was it like to do this? What was it like to leave the house and not be able to call anybody? Mm-hmm. What was it like to, because you're still doing all the same things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you go on a vacation. Here's the thing. You drove to Florida, am I right? A couple years ago.
Yeah.
So at any point in time in your drive to Florida, you had a safety net. If you lost your wallet, if you broke down, whatever potentiality was there, you kind of knew in the back of your mind, I am a phone call away or a text away of getting help and doing things. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's always good people in the world willing to help strangers, but if you were doing this in 1981 and you didn't have a credit card and you just had a wad of cash in your wallet in a used car and you go to Florida, your adventure is a lot different.
Yeah, exactly. It absolutely is. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
And did you ever think about that?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think the ability that technology has is awesome. I think it's so much more convenient. Like, I went to Myrtle Beach for my senior trip, 10-hour car ride. I could talk to my mom at any point, but she had me on Life 360, so she knew everywhere where I was at every moment ever, and same for being back home. So, I wish that to an extent you could have that freedom, and whether she trusted me or not or whatever it was, to be able to have that freedom of just being able to go out and not have to worry would be nice. Yeah. Whereas, with technology, it's like somebody can usually know where you're at all times and what's going on at all times.
Especially with the apps that you use too.
Yeah, absolutely. You can track people.
Do you think that we're getting to the point now where do you feel your privacy is being invaded?
Yeah, I actually had a class about that kind of in school.
And we have an attorney right at the table here too, so we really can know if it's invaded or not.
Yeah. we were just talking about that in class a couple weeks ago. But I mean, especially even just social media apps, you could probably pop on there and someone has your location.
Yeah.
No matter where you are, any app that you probably use, someone probably has where you are.
You got to turn off your location settings. That's the big thing.
I mean, I think you probably can, but I mean, someone higher up probably has what's going on can see your screen as you navigate through your phone.
Well, most people don't read the terms of service of all these apps.
Yeah, no, they just hit okay and then move on.
They just hit okay, and it says, we can track everything you do. We own all your content. We own your photos. We can do what we want with them. It's like people aren't reading this stuff, and it's when you sign up for an app, you're making a contract with that company, and those terms of service dictate, and that's what people aren't even thinking about.
I think it's kind of terrifying what the people at the top who run these apps and who are really up there, what they could do to us. Do I ever think do I think that they're going to care about my pictures or what I'm doing?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know,
but
man.
it's not. I mean, it is kind of concerning that you said turn off your location services, but if I want to use Google Maps, I got to have it on so it knows where I am.
Right.
So in some degree, some way I could probably be tracked at every given moment, whether it's just from my cellular or whatever it is. And that's just kind of scary because at any moment anybody can find you.
A lot of those apps you got to turn on your location just to even use it.
Right. I mean, that's the problem too. I mean, and the scariest part is look at Twitter. Look what has come out about Twitter. What happened there?
Crazy.
That's the scary part, right? That the government was able to go into a private company and orchestrate with manipulate a system. That's the scariest part, and that's a system that people use as a communication device. It's the town square, and they were able to go in there and manipulate it for their advantage.
What's scarier is the lack of news about it. I mean, the fact that I go on CNN or any news site and there's absolutely nothing being talked about besides on Fox.
Exactly.
And yet there was the government controlling this company that millions of people use and communicate and blocking what people say. And that's what's terrifying, is that nobody's talking about it, because the same people who are blocking Twitter are blocking the news people from talking about it and saying, hey, let's not talk about it.
They're controlling the news people. That's exactly right. I mean, when you think about it, and assuming all of it's true, because they've released all the fouls. I mean, it was manipulation. It was pure election.
100%.
Whether Trump would have won or not, they manipulated the election. They shunned the voices of certain people. Like, they had a list of people. Then the government told them, don't let their stuff out. Like, that is fucking crazy to me.
The narrative's controlled.
That's exactly right. And that is a scary part, because most people, like we've talked about before, most people aren't, I don't want to say bright enough, but aren't astute enough to do that next level thinking to say, is this really legit? They're just listening to the narrative that's fed to them. And it was manipulated completely. That's what's fucking scary. And that's why people are losing their shit over Elon Musk owning Twitter, because he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm exposed. And it's both sides. It's not just the left. It's both sides. They're exposing everything. And that's a scary thing, because you guys are living through this.
Yeah.
And you're just coming into the profession. Like, I've been in the professional world for 20 years. You're coming into it now, where this is like, you've got to look at everything at a deeper level.
Yeah. Let's just take the surface level right now, just the surface. Does politics affect any of your friendships at all?
No. Like, it's kind of funny, because like most of my friends have like the same views as me, but like there's a couple of my friends that are like obviously different. But does it affect it? Like, we'll just talk about it sometimes, but just to like shit on each other, or just like just talk shit or whatever. But like, nah, I've never like lost any friends.
Okay,
but like, I maybe gained a couple friends like just as I talk to them. Like,
well, let me ask you this. Let's take a second level thinking of this. Do you think that you may have been robbed is a bad word, but you have been ill-afforded an opportunity to meet new people because they may be wearing their political affiliations as a badge, and thus prohibiting any kind of potential friendship with you because of that?
Yeah, and it would just make me not want to go up to them if they're just like publicly outward, like showing what they.
Okay. And that we did. I don't think you and I lived through that in our teens at all.
No,
it wasn't that caustic.
That. No, one was like that. I mean, what's it like?
We didn't care, to be honest with you.
No, not at all.
My school's in shambles. I mean, it is a small, little liberal arts college, and so, I will say that I associate with myself with people who are very similar to myself.
Yeah,
so all of my friends are just like me. I mean, we almost think exactly the same. For almost all of them, but what was it? We were talking about Andrew Tate one day in my room, and we were watching a video, and one of our friends, this girl, she came in and she saw us watching it. She was like, Andrew Tate, minus brownie points for you guys.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, first of all, I don't care. Second of all, like, why is that minus brownie points? And then she went on this whole rant about how, I saw this thing on TikTok where he was talking about this. And then we're like, okay, but did you listen to anything, a sentence prior to that or a sentence after that?
No.
And she's like, well, no. And so we showed her the video, and she didn't know what to say. And even my mom was talking to me. Yeah. She hated Andrew Tate. And now she's like, I kind of like him. Because she's like, everything on social media is played to what people want to hear or to what that side wants to hear. And that's the only thing that they're going to talk about. They'll never actually take the time to go in depth into it.
Yep. Well, in Rocco, I definitely want you to expound on this, because you're going to say it more eloquently than me. But the reason we're sitting here at a table doing this thing called podcasting is because very few people will take the time to breathe and realize, wait, there's got to be more to the story. Let me go seek that out. And sometimes that is just having a real in-depth conversation, but we don't do that today.
No.
So are you too familiar with Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit. Jordan Peterson?
A little bit.
Yeah. So I got turned on to Peterson about maybe 2015 or so. His books are heady too. I mean, so it's easier to ingest the lectures. But another person where sound bites.
Yeah.
They have taken sound bites to try to actually, because I really feel in many instances that the far left in the world, not just in the United States, in the world, the far left mindset is incredibly intimidated by his logic and his articulation. So instead of dealing with him in a really sensible way, they basically have set out to try to destroy the man. By misrepresenting everything he stands for. In my opinion, I think that's what's happening.
But what he says is so profoundly true. Like one of the things he says that resonates with me the most is when he says, "A man is to be a dangerous man, but control it." He said, because if you're not dangerous, what are you?
Yeah,
like you're weak and you're useless. Mm-hmm. Like if you're a weak man, you're useless to society. Our role as a man is to be a monster, but learn to control it and control that dangerous side of us. Because then you're useful, because you can control your emotion. You can control it, but you can also use it when necessary. If you are a weak man, like he says, and it's true, I believe it, you're useless.
Yeah.
Like what is your value to the greater good?
Joe Rogan says something like that.
Yeah, he's quoting Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, and I would say if you don't want to go down, to anyone who's listening that doesn't know who Jordan Peterson is or just hears the name and really hasn't ingested any material, if you're interested, the quick and dirty way to really dive in a little bit is watch him on a Lex Friedman podcast or watch him on the multiple times he's been on Rogan. Jordan Peterson also has his own podcast as well too, but it's not as regular, and I think that he's better as a guest. If you want to learn what he's about,
absolutely
view him as a guest. But he really is. He's a clinical psychologist.
Yeah.
So he's coming from a position of academia, but the logic behind it is strong, and I think that we're in a world right now where logic is less and less valued.
I was actually just about to say, I think one of the biggest issues is that people are thinking with their feelings instead of facts.
Yes.
Because
do you see that at your age?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I was just watching an interview with this guy. He met with a college professor. He was professor of woman and gender studies, and his whole job is he's talking about women and equality and their gender.
Is it Matt Walsh's interview with
I
this
think.
guy?
And he was like,
awesome.
and he asked him, he was like, what is a woman? And the guy was like, well, what do you think? What do you think is a woman? And he turned it on him, and immediately you could see he got pissed off and flustered. And instead of just having a conversation, I mean, this guy is a college professor who's supposed to be teaching a class on it, and you couldn't even give this guy the basic definition. And then instead of continuing the conversation, he then went and said, well, you've conducted yourself poorly in the way that you've acted. The guy was just asking a simple question.
He said, what is a woman? The guy's like, well, whatever, someone who identifies as a woman. He's like, okay, but then what is a woman? Like, what is the definition of, if you identify as a woman, what is a woman? He's like, well, it's whoever identifies as a woman. He would not give the definition. Of course not. That was the Matt Walsh interview. It was a great interview because it was, it's like, it shows how ridiculous things have gotten. Like the feelings versus facts. Like one of the Jordan Peterson interviews when he that one woman's talking about the pay gap, the inequality in pay. And he's like, no. He's like, we only talk about inequality in pay between men and women when we're talking about the C-suite. He's like, 95% of dangerous jobs are held by men. Firefighters, police officers, line workers, ditch diggers. Like, we don't talk about women being equal in those. Infantry, right. And he's like, we only talk about the pay gap. We only talk about the pay gap when it deals with the C-suite. He's like, we don't talk about it. If you want equality, then there should be 50% bricklayers men, 50% bricklayers women. But 99% of bricklayers are men. We don't talk about that. And he goes into this, and it's like, because this feeling, like we feel like there's this pay inequality. Because, maybe there's CEOs that are men that are making $100 million, and maybe there's not as many women in those roles. Okay, but look at the facts. Facts should dictate decision making, not feelings, and that's the problem. Like we have gotten, like, everybody gets offended now because everybody's feelings matter. It's like, no, how about facts fucking matter?
And the getting offended takes away from the conversation at hand and kind of ruins the ability to work on it or figure it out. Because exactly if they just get mad and turn their face away.
How about something that's even worse than that? How about just the declaration of being offended and then the attack afterwards? That's actually worse than just saying I'm offended and here's why. Just declaring it now. You don't even have to explain why you are. Just declare that you are and attack them.
It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous.
And again, this is just two older people talking. Do you see this? Is it the same in your demographic?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, especially at school.
Yeah,
especially at school.
So you're both going to be leaving school soon. So do you feel that that'll moderate a little bit in your life as you maneuver into the workforce, or do you think college is an accurate representation of where you're headed?
Nah, I think just because where I'm at and what school I go to, like, it's just like you just get what you get there. Like it's hard to explain. Like, you just know what you're getting, and like,
okay,
it's not gonna be that extreme. I think like where I go to school it's extreme where I'm at, but like I think obviously
so you're recognizing it for what you believe it is.
Yeah, when I leave, I don't think it's gonna be as extreme.
Okay. I think one of the hardest parts about even being somewhat middle grounded or leaning a little bit to the right nowadays is that you're looked down upon so poorly. You could have these radical leftists or these hardcore liberals who would go out and protest and go nuts and scream in your face and threaten you and all this stuff. And if I just say, like, if they were to even hear maybe this conversation, the amount of girls that would get pissed off and it would cause problems with is unbelievable.
Especially about Tate.
And so you have to hide yourself. Like, me and my group of friends, you can't go out and we can't talk like this in front of people outside of our friends. That's just the truth. If you do, you risk being canceled, being hated, being looked down upon, and that's just the truth.
Yeah. So let's go there then. So, and I want to ask you first. Okay. I think that Trump being demonized, and don't get me wrong, he's certainly responsible for a good portion of his issues too. But just Trump as an entity has been used to further the divide.
Of course.
And Trump, the name Trump, case in point, before Trump hit the scene, I don't know if you would still, if you identified yourself as a moderate right, a right-leaning moderate. That's kind of what I think both of you generally are. I think everyone at the table here is.
Yeah.
If we identified that in 2016, any year before that, I don't think you would feel very much vitriol. No. But since he has been used, he's arrived and been attacked, and that whole character has been created.
The term Trumpy came out.
I think I think that has changed the dynamic completely.
Yeah, because people don't understand politics. They don't understand policy. They just say Trump right, bad. It's like no, like I'm middle right, meaning socially I don't really give a fuck what you do. Like you stay out of my lane, I'll stay out of your lane. If you're gonna tax me, I'm fiscally conservative. Don't fucking overspend. Run the government like a business. Don't spend money on bullshit programs when people are gaming the system. That's the problem I have. Like I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in the freedom of speech. I don't believe in my morals are better than someone else's. So you can kind of there's certain things I just don't care about. Right? Climate change, don't really give a shit about. Like sorry, it's just it's one of those things. But it's like if you now because of Trump, it's like if you identify any part right,
you're labeled.
And that's wrong, and that shouldn't be the case.
Even slightly right, and you're labeled.
It's exactly right, and it shouldn't be the case because the only way to solve problems in this country is to be able to have discussion and discourse.
100%.
And we have to be able to do that. And if we keep labeling each other, even when we label liberals, right? Like we shouldn't do that either. Like I'm not saying that that's right. Like I'm willing to talk to someone and listen to their point of view. And if someone can convince me, I'm willing to change my viewpoints. My viewpoints are not set in stone. Like I'm a logical, reasonable person.
Of course not.
But what I found is most people that lean left, probably farther left, middle left, are pretty reasonable too. They will, if you have any part of right in you, you are vilified, and they will not discuss with you anything
in the current. Environment for sure.
It's their right to be offended, and it's your problem they're offended.
Because they associate the concept of conservatism with a man that they've identified and created that they hate so vehemently that they want to label you as part of his family, which is fucking insane. But again, that's what happens.
And again, with the whole Trump thing, look, yes, does he have problems? Was he an asshole? Abso-fucking-lutely. But if you take away the subjective feelings of people and look objectively at what he did in this country, I think he was a pretty fucking good president. Policy-wise.
Yeah, it's hard to argue.
I think he actually cared about America. I think this guy who had his whole fucking life to do whatever the fuck he wanted, billions of dollars, beautiful wife, beautiful family, chose to put himself in the firing range or on the firing range for everybody to demonize him because he cared that much. Whether people hate that I say that or not, I don't care. That's what I believe. I may be wrong. I believe the man, yes, he's egotistical 100%, but I believe he actually cared about America, and that's why he did what he did. Now, I think he's went off the rocker. I think he's went over the fucking edge on a lot of shit now. I think
his time has come.
I think he took that loss, and he's taken it personal, and he's went off the deep end.
Yeah.
But I truly believe he went into office with the right intentions, and I think he did do a lot of good.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue policy wise.
Right.
The Trump presidency. It's just hard to argue it policy wise. You can try to deface the man any way you want, but it's hard to argue.
If you ask somebody, tell me what policies. Well, he was racist. Well, what did he do that was racist?
Yeah,
what were his racist policies? Or he was this. He hated women. What was the policy?
The statistics don't prove any of that out.
No, it's just impression, subjective perceptions of people.
So what is it like for you two to maneuver today? I mean, not that you'd want to do you have to, let me ask you this, you're going to date somebody, right? Do you have to lead with that question?
I would never talk about that for first couple of dates for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this though. Let me play devil's advocate. So are you capable, and be honest, I'll rephrase that. I'm sure you're capable of it. Do you think there is a long-term possibility for relationships, romantic relationships, committed romantic relationships with someone with a direct polar opposite viewpoint of you philosophically from a political standpoint?
I mean, I went through it. Mel was pretty much the polar opposite of me. I dated her for 4 years, but we had, at least with her, we were able to have a conversation, and I literally got into long conversations with her and my mom in the kitchen many times. But I think it's all person to person. I mean, you may be able to find the right one, and you may be able to work it out, but there's also a very high chance that once it comes out or once they see that side or hear how you think, it could change everything.
At least today it's hard, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in today's day and age, I can't imagine in your age demographic, but I feel like if you're with someone that's that polar opposite, that's going to spill over in other areas of life, morals, values.
Yeah,
I think it's hard. I think having someone middle right, middle left, that's workable, right? Even kind of a little bit farther. But if you're in the extremes, it's never going to work.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion.
Yeah,
if you look at most couples out there, they're pretty like-minded when it comes to politics.
Yeah.
Or I have one of my friends, a couple I'm thinking of, one's Republican, one's a Democrat, but they're both reasonable people. They're both lawyers. They'll have reasonable discussions about it. And they just think differently about certain things, but it hasn't impacted the relationship at all. But they're not, either one of them are far one way or the other. So, being, middle or left, right, or the center, I think can work. Far extremes, I don't think can, in my opinion.
I mean, you look at Marcus. Remember him in his talks on Vegas? He knows it. They both know it, but they work out great.
Yeah, I love Marcus. He's one of my favorite dudes.
I just think it's impossible for two people to be polar opposites politically from a philosophical standpoint and make it work. I just don't know of anyone in my sphere that is that way.
Yeah, and I don't know anybody that I in my sphere that are polar opposites that have worked. I know people that have if this microphone's the center line here and here, cool. Yeah. Here and here, no fucking way.
Do you think that your generation has the ability to be indifferent?
I think
do Gen Zers is there a large swath of Gen Zers, in your opinion or your guess, that have the ability to be indifferent toward the political philosophy of the day?
Just based off of my past experience, with my friends. I mean, I went to a high school with more kids than are at my college, so I've met a lot of kids. I know a large group of kids who, easily could be indifferent, but there's also, I look at it 40, 60.
Yeah.
in terms of, you're going to have the people who just are set one way and don't want to talk, and they have their way of thinking about it, and that's it. And then you have people who don't really care or don't feel one way or the other, or can swing both ways, or just are there to have a conversation, or don't know enough and want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
How did you form your political beliefs? Have you ever thought about where your political beliefs came from? Did you just something you feel inside, or did you look to your family, your friends? Where did you, whatever you claim you are, which I really don't care what it is, but whatever your personal philosophy is, did you get it from your dad, your mom, your uncle, your neighbor? Or did you took a little bit from each? You basically read a book or saw a lecture that changed your mind? Was there a moment that you got that spark of, this is who I am?
Probably from you.
I was gonna say from him.
You think?
But like even like just hanging around my friends, just like growing up,
yeah.
I think you like at least my friends have like the same like views. Like we all just talk shit or whatever. But I think it's all the same.
I think I grew my own opinions on a lot of things, and then would talk to you about them, and then him and I would kind of concur, and then I realized how similar we think. But I grew them based on seeing stuff on social media and being like, I agree with this, I don't, or then my friends and us kind of all sharing our opinions.
Yeah.
Even teachers, football coaches, just people, like watching people and getting to know people and hearing everybody's different perspectives. I've kind of formulated my own way of thinking.
So your dad sat in on the first podcast here in 2019, July of 2019.
Yeah.
And he said the following statement. I will never forget this, and it's like resonated with me. It was like my eyeballs went boom again. I'm like, yeah, exactly. And you said that pretty much, in your opinion, pretty much everybody wants the same thing. We all kind of want the same thing. If you had to ask 100 people out of 100 people and say, if you had your druthers, what would you kind of want to see happen in your life? What opportunities would you like to see? Everybody's going to have kind of the same thing.
Yep.
Right? And our inability to talk about it in a civil way, that's where it's lost. Like we're missing the ability to talk about our differences.
Yeah.
When there probably isn't really that many. They're just amplified.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's exactly
Do you feel
right.
the same way?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're just amplified.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
People get on these like I go back to the Ukraine thing. It's right when that was the hot topic of the day. Like everybody was in support of the war in Ukraine. Like the people of Ukraine. It's like, have you ever been to Ukraine? Do you know anybody Ukrainian?
Yeah.
Like you're just hopping on this.
They
It's
just
like,
care what's going on
it's
right
like
now.
There are a lot of people, and those are the fringe that make it hard for the 85% of us that want the same shit but have variable differences to have discussions. Because when we start talking as a group, there's always someone there that's on one of the fringe, like, fuck you guys, this is bullshit, you should be thinking this, and everybody's just kind of like, well, let's just shut up and move on. That's what happens, because you have these people that they're issue warriors, I call them. Like, they find the hot issue of the day, and it's popular to
insert themselves into
it's popular to put the flag on their Facebook profile, I support this, and that's great. Like, if you want to support it, donate money. Like, do something. Like, don't, because it's people that couldn't even tell you where Ukraine is. Like, if you gave them a map with where's Ukraine? Where is it? Please tell me. Do you know anybody Ukrainian? Do you know what Ukrainian food is? Like, there's so many people like that, and that's what causes the problem.
Better yet, do you know the history of the Ukrainian government, even in the past 6 or 7 years?
Correct.
Because that would give you some validation to say, okay, well, that seemed a little better, maybe, than who's attacking them, right?
Most people just want to be left alone, want to be able to live their life the way they want to live, and not pay too much in tax. Like, it's like I formed my political beliefs myself. Like my grandmother was Democrat growing up, and my family, like, they were Democrats. But as I got into business when I got in the world and realized I had to make it myself, that's when I developed my conservativeness. Like, it's like no one's going to give it to me. No one's going to hand it to me. If I want something, I've got to make it happen. And I remember having a discussion, one of my old employees that worked for me, he was talking about, like, we were having a political discussion. He was like, oh, he was a big Andrew Yang and Bernie Sanders supporter. I said, your view will change when you're sitting in my chair. I said, because it's easy to say that now when you're you want everything fed to you, right? Like, you don't have the responsibility of other people. You don't have this. You just think everybody should get universal income and this should be it, and it should be utopia. Your view changes when you're sitting in my seat, and I know I'm the last one that gets paid.
Yep, 100%.
Like, I'm the last thing that matters. Like, everybody else is above me. It's a different mentality.
So I'll share this with you. My quick and dirty story is I was probably 20, 22, and I was trying desperately to get a job, and I was going to FedEx every day, and I was going to UPS and DHL. I just wanted a job. There were no jobs. If you didn't have a degree, you didn't have a chance, right? And then I finally got a job, and it was at a non-union shop. I'm straight out of high school. I don't know what a union is. I mean, I just know I'm making this an hour. And then they tried to recruit us for a union. And it didn't fly. And there was a lot of consternation. Like, I voted no because it just didn't sound like a good deal to me. And I remember how badly I was made to feel that I didn't do it, right? And then years later, I heard Jim Rohn, when I started listening to him, and he said, and he wasn't demonizing anyone, he was just talking about philosophy. He says, if you are an entrepreneur, or if you think your life has potentials to do great things and you want unlimited income at some point in time, you can't get wealthy by demand.
Right. Exactly right.
Which to me invalidated the entire concept of a union. Doesn't mean they're evil people. It doesn't mean this is an evil philosophy. It just wasn't for me because I wanted the idea of being earned based upon my own endeavors. And you're not going to get wealthy by demand. You'll eke out a living.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe, but you're not going to get wealthy. And that was when I realized, wow, well, what political party is entrepreneurship and really does not buy into that? It leaned right. It was right. And that philosophy resonated with me. I don't believe in neither do you. It was Rocco. We don't believe in the entire Republican, whatever they call it,
platform.
The platform. They still have such a thing. I mean, you need to be able to dip and weave and maneuver what lies with you, but you also need to be relatively find out where you're grounded.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. And I hope that's happening with the younger folks. I think because groupthink is a big fear I got.
Absolutely.
When you guys are out, with Gen Zers, is groupthink a problem? Do you see it?
I mean, I think there is a large group of Gen Zers, or even at my school, that sound people who can have a conversation. We can do it, but then there's like those few outliers that you were saying that. And then when they come into the conversation or they're in the area, that's when it becomes like a bad conversation. When it went from just being a couple people having a logical conversation just to talk about things, but then you have these either way.
And they try to take over?
And they try to take over and say, oh, you're terrible for thinking this. And then it just causes problems.
By labeling.
Yeah. And I think we're always going to have those. And I think that's then where once those people start to rile up other people, that's when the problems start to come. Because I've had many sound conversations with a group of people where we can get through it and nobody leaves angry. We all leave. Maybe we've learned something. Maybe we've changed our opinion on something. But then you have those people who just come in and yell. It's like...
That's what we used to call acting like an adult.
Yeah, exactly.
So last question for you two. Experiences or stuff?
Experience.
I don't mean stuff in a negative way. I mean experiences or possessions or things, whatever word you want to use.
Experiences.
Yeah.
Easily.
Why?
That kind of makes you who you are. If you don't experience certain stuff, like how are you going to grow as a person? I think that just applies to any aspect of life overall.
I think experiences go a lot deeper than possessions. Like possessions, can give me some aspect of my personality or my character. Me owning a computer and being a gamer, that's part of my character. It's part of my personality. But going on those experiences, going on trips with friends, spending quality time with your family and learning things from them, that's going to really build you into who you are.
Absolutely.
Do you think that's more common with Gen Z? Do you think that's... And the reason I ask that is all the reading that I did in preparation for this, for trying to find questions, was like the consensus seemed to be that Gen Z is looking toward experiences versus stuff. I was not. And maybe a little bit of that stuff over experiences thing is maybe still in me now. The possessions I do have, guitars and things, having my house and having my car and that I like and being comfortable with, that's important stuff to me. I don't have to have a ton of it, but my things bring a level of comfort to my life. And I always have had to cognitively think about, wait, get out there and experience these things. I have to fight myself every day not to be cocooned, you know? So I wasn't as a younger person thinking about experiences. I mean, and I did a lot of writing, and I still didn't think about that, you know? So when I read yesterday that it was experiences over stuff with Gen Z, and it was pretty prevalent, I want to know, do you think that's true?
I think for most people, I think maybe there's an outlier, like a couple people kind of value their like what they have more than like what they've really been through, but it just goes back to like everything that you do in life is all about like what you go through. Yeah. If you don't go through anything hard, then you're not really earning anything. Like you're not going to actually like feel like, oh wow, I actually did this. Yeah. Like I accomplished something that's actually meaningful to what I'm doing.
So true.
It's just
there's not an object or a possession in the world that like I would trade to go back from my football years. I mean, my football years, the grind, the brotherhood, the learning, everything about that. I mean, that was probably one of the bulk things that built me to what I am now. And so there's nothing that I would say could even compare that I would put over top of that in those experiences.
Yeah. Experience is a funny thing.
So part of that question though that I was reading was that Gen Zs were doing this because inflation is certainly high now, but they were looking at the price of everything, and just in general, even before this run-up in inflation, and your generation was more valuing about going out and doing things, which kind of went against the whole being isolated with the phone things. I didn't understand that. Like, it almost made it seem like you're all about socializing together and going out and going camping, going on trips, going and doing things together, but that doesn't really jive with the isolation of the devices. So I wasn't really sure, and I'm just curious, like, do you feel that way? Like, do you two, at the age you're at now, do you find yourself lusting after material things? Because I don't see that in him anymore as a preteen and as an early teen a lot. Not anymore. My daughter, maybe a little more with my daughter, but not a lot. Not a lot. Maybe I'm not seeing it. I don't know. But
I think it goes back. Like, even I was a gamer too. Like, I loved playing PlayStation. I was always getting the MLB any sport game that came out every year. Like, that's what. And I was always playing with my friends and stuff, just like online or just. I think as you grow older, like, it's just, I don't know. Just experiences, like, especially with COVID, I think it magnified everything. Like, you were inside. So now, like, I'm always trying to get my friends to just, let's go do something. Like, even at school, like, I always want to just, like, go out, do something. Because you just don't know when.
Yeah, you don't know when it's going to be. Well, I think to your point, like, I know the stuff you were reading, I've read stuff about that too. They were saying that the Gen Z, because they can't afford a home, so they're spending their money on experiences because they're not going to invest money in like talking about home buying was a big one of the articles I read.
That's where it came from for me too.
It was saying they can't, because Gen Z's the price of houses have increased, interest rates have increased. They're now spending that money on experiences. But I think there is a level with their generation that I think is more experiential in nature because, and I think part of it, one is legitimate, two is social media.
I was just going to say
it allows them to now show the experience on social media. It creates this like the girls going out to the clubs or going to the beach with their girlfriends. The only reason they want to do that is so they can take beach pictures. I'm not saying everybody, and I'm not saying that's the total reason. No. But to an extent, that's a large part of why they go and do these things. They want to be influencers, so they need the experiences to be the influencers.
It's just fake. They're not actually like probably happy with like what their current situation in life is. They just want people to think that they are.
And to your point about experience, I think you're spot on. It helps you grow as a person. The more you experience, good and bad, like that's how you grow as a person. Like when I was younger, I was more about material things. I know that about myself. I wanted to be. When I said I wanted to be a lawyer, I wanted to just literally make a bunch of money. And now it's like I've got to the point where it's not about money at all anymore. It's purely about the game. Purely about what I can build, the experience of creating something from nothing and seeing how far we can take it. It has nothing to do with money anymore.
Because you earn that.
Yeah, like exactly.
You go through life to earn.
And it's
high moments like that.
And it isn't, and it's such an interesting place to be because when you get to a certain spot in life, like I thought, like when you get this, like you care more about money. And it's like I care less about money now because It's now about the creation of something, the experience of creating something, the ups and downs of it, you know, the good days, the bad days, and everything in between, because that creates that new person. Like I was just having this conversation this week with my business coach, with Mike. We were talking about like looking into next year. I said, what we want to be next year,
right,
I have to evolve into a different person.
Okay.
The person sitting here today will be completely different 12 months from now. Because I can't get to where I want to go with the person I am today. I have to evolve, and I have to figure that out and focus on different things, change different things, and that's part of the experience. Like you guys will go through that, right? You're in your early 20s. As you start developing in the world and coming into your space, your 20s are an interesting time, and it's you'll look at your 20s and you'll learn so much about yourself. But if you're thinking the way you guys are now about that experience, like that's important, because if you come in, I wasn't like when I came out of law school, it was about making money.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about experience, like how much money can I make, what can I buy, I had to take care of him, I had to, you know, that's what it was about. But if you're looking at like how can I experience things, you will grow so much faster as a person, and you'll be 20 steps ahead of where him and I are at this age. Like when you get here, it's just you're thinking about it the right way.
Yeah. So let me ask you this about Gabe,
Yeah.
and I'll give you an answer in kind.
Okay.
Do you remember a circumstance or a challenge in his life that you can look to as being, being rather momentous, from a hurdle or from an activity he did or a tough time that he went through that was an incredible growth experience for him that you can look to?
I don't think there was any hardship that you went through that was. I think when you got into football and really committed to the sport, I think is when you grew the most as a person.
Yeah.
When I saw his growth, like I knew like he was always a good kid. Like I'm not just saying that because you're my son. Like he was always a good kid, polite, well mannered. Like people would always say like I'm like, who the fuck is he? Like he's always a dick around us, but he was like so polite to everybody else. Like just a good, well rounded kid. But I always told him, I said, work ethic, like that's what's going to set you apart. And it's not that you didn't have it, but you liked games, and you would. But then once I saw him literally commit to football and commit to the gym, like I saw a different person. I saw him evolve from a boy into a man.
Yeah.
And that's what I think really it was. That was that time of that 4-year period really is when I just saw this transformation in him.
I went from being kind of lazy and just playing video games and going through the motions to like I'm up at practice every day at 6 a.m. We're doing this.
He was dedicated. Like he was like you just saw this this level of intensity in him. Like I just saw, and again, I wasn't with him as much as his mom was, but the times I was, like when I would try to get him to work out with me, and it was like, I don't really want to. Then it's like all of a sudden this thing switched, and it's like this fire in his eyes, and you just saw like he would talk to me about working out. And I remember you like calling me and like asking like, hey, what about this workout? What about? And it was just like, holy shit, like this is a different individual. Like he's evolved, and now it's just completely like just skyrocketed. It makes me very proud to look back on that and just see that evolution of you through those years, because you did the work. It was all on you. Like no one did it for you. Like you just committed to something and said, I'm gonna fucking do it. And you just did it. And that's what makes me so proud, because that's how I know you'll be extremely successful in life, whatever you choose to do. Hopefully a lawyer, and hopefully work for me someday, but we'll see.
No pressure there, Gabe.
No pressure.
I'll just add in football, my senior year, I got injured. I tore my knee. That for me was like that moment that that was like one of the most challenging times, was because I worked 3 years to finally start at like a competitive school, and I was in the third week I tore my knee, and they're like, 8 weeks, and I came back in 5 because I'm like, you took this. I took this. It taught me how to handle such a horrible setback and do everything I could to get back to where I was before. I think it taught me a different level of like work ethic.
Yeah, I remember that. You. It was interesting because that's a good point. Like you had this determination. It was like they kept telling him 8 weeks. I'm like, that's. We were like terrified. Like it was a senior season. It was like, fuck, like that's his whole season. Then I remember you just working every week and then putting you through cryo and doing all the rehab.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, he's coming back in fucking 5 weeks. And they told him 8, and he started, and it was just, you just saw, and it was like he wasn't upset about it. He wasn't like down. He just did what it took to get there, and that was like, it was a moment as a dad where you see your son and you're like, he's a man. Like he gets the world now, and it's like that worry you have as a dad, where like, did I show him enough? Will he be okay? It's like in that moment, I knew he could face anything in the world, and he will come through it on top.
Yeah. So I got 2 moments to talk about. The one was his senior year of high school, where let me just go back. When it came to baseball, and now he loves basketball and loves other sports, and he's played those in school and so forth. But when it came to baseball, he had the most discipline imaginable. He was the kid that wanted to be on the field a half an hour before. He just loved the game so much. I didn't have to really encourage that. That was always there. In his senior year of high school, after having an excellent, I would say, middle school and high school career in baseball, opportunities were not afforded him his senior year. I'm a dad, so I got a bias, certainly, and I got a feeling that, I will always believe that there was some interesting coaching decisions and things. The chips didn't fall his way like I think all of us wanted to see that. And a lot of us believe that he didn't get the college opportunities that some others did. We were pissed. We never really shared that with him, but we were really fucking pissed.
Yeah.
He was not.
Yeah.
And the way he handled that with his friends and being encouraging to his friends and kind and happy-go-lucky, and the way he handled that when we weren't handling it as well privately.
Yeah.
That was an incredible growth moment. I came like, wow, he has so much fucking perspective. Shame on me for even giving a hint to him that I might be disappointed. Because I certainly wasn't disappointed in him.
Yeah.
I was disappointed in how the opportunities were presented to him. Yep. Okay. But the bigger growth came when he was trying to figure out, do I want to go to school full time? Because the whole not scholarship thing threw a monkey wrench into his plans. Like, well, now if I want to be home, I'm not going to be playing baseball. Do I want to go to a 4-year school? Do I want to get my feet wet at community college first? He took a job at FedEx with the most insidious hours imaginable. All my life, I never really put the kid in positions where he had to work hard. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Diana, his mother's significant other, would put him in more physically demanding situations growing up, doing things than I ever did. I never even made him carry boxes at Boogie Street. I mean, he never had a life where I forced a lot of physical labor on him. He went to work at FedEx 30 hours a week, maybe, sometimes, even more. And the starting time, I think, was like 1:30 in the morning or 2:30.
It would just depend on the day. Just different times.
And he would go work shucking packages off of airplanes. Physical, brutal work. Yeah. And he did this through 19 while going to school, into 20, through the pandemic with a freaking mask on and all that nonsense. Yeah. And it was like he became a man at that moment. Yeah. When I saw that he had... and he was not happy in the beginning.
Yeah, of course.
Because he had a really good, kind of cool life.
Yeah.
But I think his friends were going away to school. So that kind of sucked not having your friends around. And now I got to go work physical labor because I'm going to be going to community college. I can see the optics of that.
Yeah.
And I sympathize completely with him. Like, I thought that I get it. It fucking sucks. But I didn't have to say that to him. Yeah. He did it. And after like a week, he was adjusted, and like I think I don't know how you felt because I never really asked you, but it felt like you had pride in that job. Like you thought it was pretty cool. Like I'm working freaking FedEx, and outworking probably most of the guys that were working there with you, because they were older than you, right?
Yeah, I do all those trailers and stuff and like unload them in the cold, especially during like this time of year.
Yeah,
like it's just like. You're working like you start like midnight. You don't get done till like 10 in the morning. Like you got to wait for like planes to come in, and you just don't know with the weather and stuff. So,
but he was doing that as a 20-year-old kid, 19-year-old kid.
Yeah,
Yeah, 19-year-old kid.
18, 19.
Wow. So I'm just saying, at that moment, seeing him dive into that physical labor and kind of being okay with it, I'm sure you're cussing yourself out.
No, yeah. At first, it's just, but like once everyone kind of like, you kind of realize the situation. Like everyone is at school, and I am by myself here, so like I might as well just make the best of it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
As I can.
But I think those first 2 years of community college here and through FedEx. I mean, I remember when he came to me and said, "Dad, would you mind if I kind of quit FedEx and like my life?" I said, "You've earned it. I mean, you did it.
Yeah,
and to do that job through the pandemic and all the uncertainty and all that nonsense. But that was where I think I saw at that moment. He was like, he's no matter it may be to someone looking in doesn't sound like a big thing, but taking a kid that really never had to do physical labor at all and throw him out there and do raw physical labor in the cold." By himself with all of his friends out of town.
Yep.
Your whole world basically shifted in like 3 months. So to me, that was a big growth moment where I think, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think that discipline, because then I saw all of a sudden you were working out like an insane amount on a very disciplined regimen. Did that kind of like, did the discipline of that job kind of bleed into other things?
Yeah, definitely started working out from that. I mean, it was just a workout even doing that job, but like then I really started getting to lifting, and it's been like 2 years since I've really been at it like every day.
That's awesome.
So, yeah,
that's awesome.
And then they're watching what they eat, and I'm like, man, I'm like at that age, I was like looking for the next pizza, next pizza and a 6-pack of beer. I mean, I was like, ready to go.
Yeah,
chicken and rice.
Weighing out my rice every day.
Yes, you do.
Did you guys have fun?
Yeah.
Of course.
Awesome.
We're going to do more of this.
Yeah, this was fun.
Definitely going to do more of this. I appreciate you being so honest and open.
Yeah.
Love
it.
But
it's nice
I know.
to talk.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, real talk, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Rocco and I are pretty lucky.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. But
Couldn't agree more.
All right, friends, until episode 3, which will be soon, I'm sure, because we're back in. And I do want to announce on this show, too, which I'm waiting to the end to do it.
Yeah.
But Cozza Law Group, Rocco Cozza, and the Cozza Law Group is the exclusive sponsor, presenter, underwriter, whatever the official word is we end up using.
We'll call it something.
Starting January 1st.
Yeah,
and I just want to say to you on camera, thank you. It's validation that we've done something special here and we've been recognized for it, that you want to be associated in that regard. It means the world to me.
No, and I appreciate the opportunity. It's gonna be a fun year, man.
Lots in plan. A lot of stuff planned out for 2023.
Absolutely,
for sure.
man.
All right, friends. We're out.